What is going on, folks? What is going on? Chris with Journals, Comics, Pop Culture. It is Friday, another Friday Night Live, and it's going to be a hot one. I mean, literally and figuratively, because it's 105 degrees in here. I do have the fans blowing right now. I apologize. I'm going to turn those off once we get started, but you might hear a little bit of buzzing in the background right now just because I'm trying to cool off. No central heating in here, but it's going to get even hotter as we get into the topic of discussion today, folks. So Pedro, what's going on, Pedro? Peter, Adam, thank you for hanging out. BBB, what's going on? So the name of tonight's Friday Night Live in the thumbnail probably have a lot of people like shocked or wondering what the hell is going on. We are going to get into it. Tricky, Neil, what is going on, everyone? Como. So, of course, folks, if you're just popping by for the first time and you're not subscribed, please do so. We are so close. We are well under 100 away from hitting 8K. Hoping to do that by next week. And I will be doing an 8K giveaway contest. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We're also wrapping up the month of July. So we're going to be doing a Patreon contest and a YouTube member contest. Now, today's the 30th. Tomorrow's the 31st. You folks still got about a day and a half or an evening and a day to sign up either via Patreon or via a YouTube member by clicking the join button below to become a member and be opted in to possibly win some of these giveaways for July's contest. All right. I did say that if we hit 40 Patreon members, we were going to be giving away that big Tells to Astonish 91 first cover Abomination second appearance 8.0 white pages. I don't think we're hitting that unless I think we need like 7 to sign up in the next 2 days. If it happens, we'll still give that away. But in the meantime, I will be giving away this Daredevil 181 Death of Elektra. Elektra's been picking up some steam lately. I will be throwing in some other books in with this as well. All right. And then, of course, if you sign up to become a Patreon member, a YouTube channel member, that was the Patreon contest. By the end of tomorrow, you'll be entered in to win this Last Ronin #3 and a couple other books that I will throw in to that as well. All right. Let's see. Travis, what's going on? Travis, Serge, Louis, Sicilian. What is going on, my fellow Sicilians? All right. 8K subscriber contest. I think we're only like 80 something away, if I can remember. And hoping to get there next week. I will be giving away a beautiful 9.8 Amazing Spider-Man 55 Gleason second print red variant. I will be throwing in a couple other books with this as well for my 8K subscriber contest. I had a few of these. If you guys remember, we gave a couple away on our Comic Book Canon Fresh from the Comic Shop giveaways. Got another one here that I'm giving away to my subscribers. It's going to be really easy to enter. You know, basically, you're just going to have to be subscribed to me and subscribe to Comic Book Canon. And if you have an Instagram, follow me on Instagram. I won't hound you about that, but I will announce this most likely next week on how you all can enter. All right. 90s Comics. What's going on? Dan. Fat Dad Comics. Marshall Lewis, Comic Noob. What is going on, folks? All right, let's see. What else to talk about before we get into the hot topic of discussion? I'm going to turn this fan down a little bit right now. Get that humming down a little for you guys. Comic Book Canon. Tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Link is below. We have legendary author Ron Mars on the show tonight. We will be interviewing him. He's done amazing work for Marvel and DC, Silver Surfer, Green Lantern. He has a independent project that he's working on right now, and we're going to be talking about that. It's a crowdfunding project through the platform Zoop. So a lot of fun things to discuss with him. I hope to see all of you guys over on the Canon in just about an hour and a half. So it's going to be an awesome show. We're also going to be announcing our Fresh from the Comic Shop July giveaway for that 9.8 Department of Truth #1, right? So, all right, let's see who else we got in the chat here. Any new folks popping in? Again, if you guys are just joining for the first time, thank you so much for being here. All right. So, again, guys, check out all the awesome links below. All right. Talked about contests. What more can I say? Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask me before we get into this topic of discussion? Because it's going to get intense here. There were some folks that I hope would show up. DJ Moonchow, awesome. Glad to see you here. First live. First time. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Sky, what's going on, Sky? I do got Red Deadly here today, but we're not opening any packages. Hello at the stream title. Miles. Yeah, guy. I'm telling you, man. Well, here's the funny thing I'm going to tell you all before we get into the discussion. I posted my live stream on Monday, where you guys can see the announcement and, hit a reminder for the Friday live show. And I already had people unsubscribe from me because they saw this topic in the title and they unsubscribed. Hey, it is what it is. But you know what? What I always tell people, don't assume things. Come to the show. Check it out. If we end up disagreeing, then let's disagree. You can unsubscribe from me. I really don't care. But I thought that was funny. Appreciate it, DJ. All right, so I think we got enough folks in here to get into the topic of discussion tonight. Again, though, folks, if you aren't subscribed, please do so. Lots of contests coming up. Check out the links below. I'll be repeating that through the night. So I put together a little bit of a PowerPoint to help talk about what we're going to talk about tonight, folks, okay? So many of you may know that over the last couple of weeks, Comic Journey, are we closing LCSs down tonight? We shall see. Those of you who may know, who caught some of the videos, I did a video discussing an image that went viral of a note that an LCS out in New Jersey posted on above their back issue bins in their shop, stating somewhere along the lines of, due to the speculation, the current speculative market, we have the right to price and reprice and change the price of our back issue books once you bring them to the register. Mega Row, what's going down? Bring down the man. Jason, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jason. Awesome. Oh, DJ is a Tupac fan. Awesome. Anyway, so I did a video discussing that. All right. I got a lot of people agreeing with me on my thoughts on that matter, but a lot of people weren't understanding my intent and were completely taking my words out of context. I did a live stream about it a couple weeks ago where I talked about the simple fact that I absolutely disagree with not only not pricing your back issue books on the sales floor, but I disagree even more with repricing them. If they're already priced, you bring it up to the register and they say, no, I don't know. This is, we got a show announced and, this is an outdated price. It says $3 on it. I'm going to charge you 30. All right. Again, I had so many people not even just disagreeing with me, but taking my words out of context. Nostalgia, I want your LCS to burn. Title made me laugh. Mojo, what's going on, Mojo? Clayton, I live in New Jersey. What comic shop is that? I believe it's called Comic Crypt or something like that. Comic Journey, yeah, for sure. So, here's what happened, folks. Here's what happened. I'm giving you guys a little backstory. I'm going to bring something up here on screen, all right, that I posted. Give me just a minute. So remember, I did a video talking about the issue. I did a live show talking about the issue. And then I made another comment on my community feed on YouTube. And I'm going to share that with you guys right now. Let's see. Journals comics. Here we go. This is what I stated right here, folks. Allowing your LCS to reprice a comic when the customer brings it up to the register to buy it is the equivalent of you buying a book on eBay, and before they shipped it, they email you and say, I'm sorry, I had that posted with an outdated price and I didn't have time to update my inventory. I'm going to have to charge you more. I got so much flack in the comments on this post. And it does seem, I think the majority of people still are agreeing with the base of what I'm saying. The majority of comic collectors have spoken and say the same thing. I want to be able to go to my LCS, go dig in the back issue bins, and have a price there so I know what I'm paying before I spend the time digging and stand in line and wait at the register for them to change it on me. The majority of us agree to that. But I had some quote unquote comic book store owners. They said they were owners. I'm just going to believe that they're telling the truth. And a few other folks coming in and not only disagreeing, but completely misunderstanding my intent and what I was saying. So I'm going to remove this out of the screen here. Here's the thing that I want to make absolutely clear with everyone watching right now. I absolutely support my LCSs 100%. So when I titled this stream, I want my LCSs to fail. I only care about getting a deal. That was what everyone was saying I was guilty of. They were pointing the finger at me saying, you don't care about your LCS. You only care about getting deals. And I was called people like you. All you want to do is get deals and flip them when I don't even sell comic books. And the only couple of times I've sold comic books, they were doubles that I have laying around in my collection so I can help pay my bills and feed my children. Now, I'm not saying that Journals Comics is a brand. Is it going to sell comic books in the future? That I want to own an LCS. It is a goal of mine to own a brick and mortar LCS one day. So in order to get there, part of the philosophy is to start selling before I have to pay rent and have all that overhead in owning a shop, because it's a big risk, especially these days, because LCSs, it's a tough business. Brick and mortar retail businesses in any industry is tough these days, right? So I had all these people saying, you only care about getting deals. Why can't an LCS charge fair market value? Why are you going to be mad that they're not going to charge you a fair price? And I keep telling people, and I care. I even had someone say, why are you as a YouTuber all up in the comments? You can't win, folks. You get in a position of mind, you can't win. So what do you want me to do? You want me to be an influencer, a content creator that doesn't engage with his audience, with his fans and his subscribers? Or do you want me to engage, but only when I agree with you? What is it? What is it? I spend so much time engaging with my audience base, and we're not always going to agree, but that's okay. Big shout out to Comic Journey. We got into a heavily debated debate, intense debate last week, and we ended up agreeing on some things and disagreeing on some things. That's the fun of this all. What's the point if we're just yes men or yes women and groupthink? Nah, man, we need to challenge each other, right? So I thought that was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. So, Dave, what's going on? So here's the thing. I want to make it clear. As a collector, Is it awesome to go find a deal in a back issue bins? Absolutely. Am I entitled to deals? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not entitled to anything. If there are collectors, speculators, flippers, whatever you want to call them, if there's any individual that's going to an LCS and only wants to find deals and thinks that they're entitled to deals, that is entitlement, and I disagree with it. And I think it's borderline as much unethical as it is for an LCS to reprice your books once you bring them to the counter. I'm going to say that again because it seems that I continue to say it and people aren't getting it. I am not about getting deals. I am not mad at an LCS because they want to price their books, so which makes me not be able to get deals. Let me say this again. If somebody feels entitled to just getting deals, I disagree with them, and I think that type of entitlement is absolutely unethical. It kind of makes you look like an ass of a person. Is that clear enough? And I hope the people that are watching that need to hear this are hearing this. Those people that were pointing the finger at me saying, you don't care about your LCS, you just want deals. I hope I put that to rest. So now that I got that out of the way, I want to dive into this. ABZ, what's going on? Comic Toby, what's going on? I want to dive into this in detail to understand. I had an LCS owner in the comments stating this. I'm going to read it. Where is it? I had it pulled up. Well, I don't know. We were going back and forth, and he stated, what's wrong with an LCS making a deal? What's wrong with him giving you a fair price, either pre-marked and tagged in the bin or at the register? What's wrong with that? What's the difference? If it's not about you wanting a deal, then what's the matter with you taking a book up to the counter, knowing that the book is selling on eBay for 50, they got it marked for 5, and he's willing to charge you 25 for it. When you get to the counter, after you dug in the back issues, you stood in line and you got there and he did his research on eBay or whatever. Now he wants to charge 25. What's wrong with that if it's a fair price still? I'm going to tell you what's wrong. And I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint that I put together here, folks. Give me just a moment. Because it's all about understanding business. And I'm going to say one more thing. For all those people that are coming at me, you know nothing about, until you own your own shop, don't even say anything about it. Here's the thing. And I always say this, and I try to be humble and say, I don't know everything. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I say this for context. I have 2 business degrees. One of them is in business management. I graduated with honors. Not to say that means anything. I'm not better than anyone else, but I state that to say I paid attention in school. I was a good student. I thrived on learning. I've worked in sales and retail management for a decade. All right. I've ran my own business. I ran a clothing business. All right. I even worked in the music industry and ran a merchandising company for musicians, as well as marketing and promotions, but that's besides the point. And right now, Journos Comics is a business, and I study the comic book market, the industry, and every ins and outs about it. I understand all the logistics, the supply chain, the overheads, the costs, profit margins, taxes, legalities, the finance, the economics of it all. I understand the ins and outs of business, especially in the comic book industry, because it's something that I love and I talk about every day. So although I have never owned a comic book store, I do work very closely to one of my local shops as well. but I understand enough to speak to this matter. So for those that want to sit here and tell me, don't, stick to making videos, do what you're best at, please take a seat, sit down, be humble. Let me bring up this PowerPoint. So let's make something clear here, folks. I don't care if you think it's right or wrong for a comic book shop to either do two things. One, have a bunch of back issue stocks on the sales floor and not have it priced and price it at the register while looking up eBay. Or have them priced but change them at the register while looking on eBay. And remember, we're not talking about key books, wall books, graded books, new releases. We're not talking about any of those. Because remember, this practice that's going on, that seems to be spreading in different LCSs, pertains specifically to back issue stock. Specifically to back issue stock. Okay? I don't care if you think it's wrong or right, ethical or unethical. I've talked about the legalities of it. Changing prices, although maybe not clearly illegal to where you can win in court, you're riding a fine legal line. You are. But I'm not even going to discuss that today. Okay? Air Spider, what's going on? Here's the thing. Whether you think it's wrong or right, it's bad business to do this. And I'm going to tell you why. And we're going to start out by talking about logistics and supply chain management. All right. Now, logistics and supply chain management does mean something a little different depending on the industry that you're in. But we're just going to read this definition right here of business logistics, folks. The process of planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient, effective flow and storage of goods, services, and related information from the point of origin to the point of consumption for the purpose of conforming to customer requirements. I'm going to repeat that again for you all. Okay, it's a lot to take in, but it makes sense. Business logistics. The process of planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient, effective flow and storage of goods, in this case, comic books, from the point of origin, meaning from the time you buy a collection, to the point of consumption, to the time that the consumer pulls it out of a back issue bin on a sales floor, for the purpose of conforming to the customer's requirements. And what does that mean? Conforming to the customer's requirements? Well, basically to conform to the needs of the customer, so that customer in that moment in time pulls that book up from the sales floor and wants to make the purchase. So he or she walks out of there spending money. Okay? We're going to keep coming back to logistics with the next few things that we talk about, because the reason why this practice of pricing and repricing at the register is bad business is because it comes down to basic logistics, folks. Now, what is correlated into logistics? Costs. Okay? So we're going to pull something up here. And we're going to talk about fixed costs and variable costs. And this is specific to an LCS, right? Because again, depending on what industry you're in, it's going to look different, right? For an LCS, though, variable costs vary based on the amount of output produced. Variable costs may include labor, commissions, and raw materials. Fixed costs remain the same regardless of production output. Fixed costs may include lease, rent, insurance, interest, and all that. So let's talk about fixed costs and variable costs pertaining to an LCS. All right. variable cost is a bit different for LCSs than say something like say something that's manufactured, right? Like a, what do you call it? Assembly line. You know, you go back at Ford. Ford, I don't know the exact numbers, but when Ford started producing the Model T, at first he can only make like one car a week. And then he was able to up that to maybe like 2 or 3 cars a week, but he had to pay more for labor. So his variable costs were increasing, because what that means was it costed him more to make one car. So in order to make a profit, he had to charge more for that car, right? But when he created the assembly line, he was able to pump out like hundreds of cars a week. So it ended up costing him less to make more. That's the variable cost, right? And his variable cost shrunk because now he could still make larger profits, but charge a cheaper price because it's costing him less to make it. So an LCS is a bit different, but let's think of it like this. Variable cost for an LCS is basically the price that you pay for each book. So we know that LCSs buy a lot of their back issue inventory in huge lots because they go out and buy collections. People selling them off, they go to estate sales, family dies, or somebody brings it in because they need to pay medical bills. Variable cost for LCSs for back issues, whether they're Silver Age, Bronze Age, or more Copper Age, modern, are usually very, very low comparative to market value. LCSs, for the most part, are known to pay pennies to the dollar for their back issue supply, for their back issue inventory. All right? Keep that in mind because we're going to come back to that. Fixed costs. Fixed costs for an LCS is rent, their phone bill, lights, you know, and you do have to consider labor. But because of the industry that the comic book industry is, your fixed costs and your variable costs kind of lap over. And what I mean by this is this, right? Your cost that you need to recoup aren't just what you pay for that lot of that collection of comic books, because you have to pay your labor, you have to pay for your employees to work shifts so they can be there to sell those back issue comics to customers when they come in and buy it. So you essentially can divide your labor costs, your rent, your light, your PG&E bill. You can divide those costs and add them to each comic book. So let me give you an example. If you buy, if a LCS owner lands a collection of 1,000 comic books and ends up paying a penny for each comic, right? Some of the comics he could sell for $2. Some of them he could sell for $20. But basically he paid a penny each. Well, he may look at all of his fixed costs, PG&E, labor, all that, and he may say, well, I'm spending $100 a day, just say, and I'm only able to sell 100 books a day. Well, now I'm going to divide that, and that's $1. That's $1 per book that I'm adding to what that book, what those books cost me, right? Now, these are all hypotheticals. I hope I'm not getting too confusing on you guys, but it's not as black and white for comic books, because even though the LCS paid a penny for that book and he sold it for $10, his profit margin isn't $9.99. That's the point I'm trying to make. His profit margin isn't $9.99 because he has to keep the lights on. He has to pay his employees and he has to pay rent. All right? I'm going to look at some comments here before we move on to see if there's any questions. Profit maximization, Emmanuel says, yep. All right, so I think I'm feeling it. Most of us are on the same page here. All right, we're going to move on. Now, we looked at fixed costs and variable costs. We know that it's not that black and white. They got bills to pay. They got to keep the lights on. They got to pay their employees. So what is competitive pricing? Because everyone's like, an LCS should just, they should have the right. They should have the right to charge fair market value. Well, what does fair market value mean for an LCS? When it comes to back issues, I'm going to bring something up and we're going to talk about it. Competitive pricing, folks, we're going to look at this, okay? Competitive pricing is the process of selecting strategic price points to best take advantage of a product, comic books, relative to competition. So what is an LCS's competition? Other LCSs, right? You know what else it is? eBay, Mercari, live streams, live sales, IG live sales, Facebook live sales, Facebook Marketplace. All these things are competition for an LCS. Moving on. To practice competitive pricing, determine what other businesses are asking for the same goods or services and set prices accordingly. You have the freedom to set prices above, below, or equal to those of competing businesses. But first, you'll want to understand the pros and cons of each competitive pricing strategy. This is key, folks. It's not as black and white as, well, go on eBay and look up what the fair market value is. This is why this is bad business. It's not about fair market value. It's about competitive pricing. And best believe me, if LCSs want to stay relevant and not go obsolete and die out, they don't need to price according to fair market value back issue books. They need to price with competitive pricing. But what is competitive pricing? Well, it's a multitude of things. But let me repeat this one more time. The LCS has to determine what the other businesses, including eBay, are asking for the same comic books. And then they need to set prices accordingly. They have the freedom to set prices above, below, or equal to those competing businesses. But you're going to want to understand the pros and the cons of each competitive pricing strategy. So what are some of the competitive pricing strategies, folks? Two that are the most important for comic books. There's two: value pricing and premium pricing. Okay? We're going to go into this. So I broke it down a little here. Let's look at this. Premium pricing means you're really setting that bar. You're setting your price at not only a possible fair market value, but maybe even a little above fair market value. Now, keep in mind, folks, fair market value doesn't really exist as one solid number. A fair market value is still an estimate. And it also fluctuates day to day, sometimes even hour to hour. So, you can't just say, the fair market value for this book is $55. The fair market value for this book is a rough estimate of all the 9.8s that have sold on the market. So it's not just one number. It's going to be on a rough sliding scale. But let's look at this. Premium pricing pros. Convenience. Let's look at the eBay model. You could find a random back issue book like this and charge a premium price on eBay because you have the convenience of sitting in your own home, on your couch, in your bed, sitting on the toilet. You don't have to get in the car and spend gas and go drive out and take time to do anything. You might be able to pay a premium. You might be willing to pay $4 plus $3 shipping for this book. But if you see it at your LCS for $5, you might not pick it up because you're like, well, I don't know. I could just get that on eBay for a couple dollars cheaper or the same price, right? So that's why There's pros with eBay sellers being able to price at a premium sometimes. Now, LCSs can take advantage of premium pricing by offering savers and other rewards. Now, again, I'm only talking about back issues. I'm not talking about new books. I'm not talking about key books that are set aside, wall books, or graded books. Back issue books in the bins. LCSs can take advantage of premium pricing by offering savers or other rewards. I'm going to give you all an example. A1 Comics, you guys know, my favorite shop. Before the pandemic, I almost always shopped and only shopped at A1 Comics when they had sales. Because of this. Now, I'm not saying their back issue books were way above fair market value. I think they were fairly priced. I think their back issue bins were fairly priced. All right? So you could say, oh, well, that's roughly fair market value. Maybe it's a premium on some, maybe a little lower on others. They were fairly priced. But when they had sales, 50% off sales, that's a value price, and I would go spend $100, $200 because I know I'm maximizing what I can get out of it. All right. So say an LCS can't move their inventory at a fair market value or premium. What do they do? They have quarterly sales where you move your inventory. You may not be getting as large as the profit margin, but remember this: inventory sitting in-house is not giving you any profits. And not only is it not giving you profits, inventory that sits costs you more in the long run, because inventory needs space. And what do you pay for space? You pay to keep the lights on, to have that inventory sit, hoping it's going to sell. And this is what I tell LCS is, okay, if you want to rid the people going, if you're so worried about people going to your shop looking for deals, and I'm not encouraging this really at all, but I'm just saying, instead of alienating all of your customers that spend an hour or 2 hours digging in the back issue bins, standing in line, and then having the rep or the owner price the books out by other people waiting in line behind you, twiddling their thumbs like, come on, man, he's got 20 books and you're going to try to price every one? Are you grading? Are you pulling them out of the bag, grading it, looking at each eBay sale? And because you can't depend on what the eBay grade list says if it's a raw book, and you're not going to price a raw book at a slab book price, I hope, right? So you got all these people waiting just for you to grade a few books or reprice a few books. Instead of doing that, price all your books at a premium that are sitting in your back issue bins. Because guess what? Those people just want deals. They're going to go to your shop. They're going to dig through the back issue bins. $10 for this West Coast. That ain't worth $10. I could find it on eBay for $5. I was hoping to find it in the dollar bin so I could flip it. Guess what? They're going to stop coming in. And then at that point, if you can't move your inventory, do a weekend sale. Do a weekend 50% off sale. Let's move on and look at the pros and cons of value pricing. Value pricing pros. Maximizing ARPC. This is very important, folks, to why this bring them up to the register. We can price in there. ARPC. This is very important to why this is bad business. Average revenue per customer. Physical stores, no matter what industry, need to maximize on foot traffic, not clicks. It's already hard enough. It's already hard enough for a brick and mortar retail store to get people in the doors. Do you know that most retail stores, especially big ones like Walmart, Target, Starbucks, do you know that they have count trackers on their doors? Meaning they can count, they get a head count of all the people coming into their store. And then they ratio that to their revenue, to their sales. And they capture all that data to say, this is how much money we're getting per head traffic, per foot traffic, right? I guarantee. So this is something that's very important for LCSs. Not only do you want people coming in your doors, but I guarantee you a large percentage of people coming through your doors aren't spending money. ARPC, average revenue per customer. It is more profitable for an LCS to increase higher average revenue per customer than get a few more dollars out of one book, out of one customer. Remember what I said about the LCS that lost my business for life. I've spent over the last 10 years, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars at that store. He lost me because I brought up a book that he had in the dollar bins that was in a nasty old bag that had been in the same bag for 35 years since it came out, an old polyethylene bag. The book may have been a very good, maybe. And in a high mid-grade, you might be able to buy it on eBay for $5. Maybe. And I brought it up to the register and he said, I can't sell that to you for $1. You still want it for $5? I said no. And it's been months. I've never gone back and I'll never go back. That's my word. He, over $4, he lost his ability to maximize his ARPC, his average revenue per customer. Because it's not about me going in that store and finding one book for $5. I would find 20 books in the dollar bins. It's not always about pricing to fair market value, but pricing to maximize revenue per customer. This is very important, folks. Oh man, sorry guys, I was away from the chat for a minute. I gotta give a big shout out to DJ Moonchild for the super chat. Thank you so much. We should do a back issue Treasure and Nightmare War Story special. I dig it. That's a great idea. Thank you so much, DJ Moonchild. I appreciate you. We already said he was a Pac fan, so much respect, much respect. Hey, Remy's in the house. Thanks for hanging out, Remy. And Massive, Brian, Ranger Class, member of the channel. Thank you so much for the super chat. Chris, you've always told us to do our due diligence to separate our personal opinion from fact. Absolutely. And before I end the show, and we still got some time, but keep in mind, guys, I will be discussing the due diligence part here, okay? For customers and LCS owners, all right? So, Ranger Class, thank you so much for the super chat. Common Journey says this whole topic is giving me an ulcer. Bait and switch is clearly a fraudulent business act. Hard to argue against that. Absolutely. Jimmy G in the house. Jimmy Garoppolo, the quarterback for the 49ers, is in the house. He's a big comic book geek. No, I'm just kidding. But that's good friend of the channel and member, Jimmy G. Thank you so much. Man Cave, Jacob, Isaac's in the house. Thanks for hanging out, Isaac. So I want to get back to this, folks. Steve, good friend of the channel, has something I want to read here. If the inventory of an LCS is running low, coupled with wearing masks in the social, okay, we'll leave the politics out of it, Steve. They might have to adjust. Seems like A1, which is a big hitter, adjusts faster. Steve, I will say again, we're not going to go into politics, Steve. I'm not knocking your beliefs. I don't want to get into that here. It's neither it's, the place or time to do it. I will say, you know what? I don't care what you believe. I'm about, doing small things just to, be empathetic to my fellow human beings. But A1 Comics did do a very good job of adjusting to the pandemic and the COVID. Absolutely. But I ultimately look, this isn't, I don't think that this has nothing to do about stock running low at all. this has to do with, the argument against this is they have so much stock that they can't, so I don't think this is about stock running low whatsoever. All right. So, Brian, Berkeley Comic Con, August 7th. I wasn't aware of it. I honestly have a lot going on right now. I don't know, but I would love to. Thanks for bringing that up, though. Let's move on, folks, because this is really important that I cover everything today. We talked about value pricing versus premium pricing and why it's not just black and white. Fair market value, for back issues. This is the big key thing that we're going to talk about today, folks. I'm gonna pull this out just for a second. I got a slide that we're gonna go over. I'm gonna get some water. Utilizing modern resources. What does that say? Key collector. Now, look, folks. I don't care if you love Key Collector, if you hate the app, you love the app. I don't care what you think of the app. I think the Key Collector app, as well as every other resource out there, Go Collect, Cover Price, Overstreet, I think they're all great resources. I may not agree with everything they do. I've talked about that. I'll always be open to that. But I do think Key Collector is a great resource, especially in this day and age. I'll use their websites once in a while to look some things up. I never had the app, but I downloaded the app last week because I knew I was making this video. And for me to talk about this, I absolutely had to have the app, and I had to be able to utilize the app to be able to talk about it. This is the biggest thing that I got of people pushing back on this argument, saying, defending LCSs, either repricing at the counter or not pricing their back issue stock and pricing it at the counter. This is my biggest issue and the biggest pushback I got. They all said, LCSs, you don't understand the work that it takes. And remember, I gave you my backstory. I am a businessman that has a lot on my resume when it comes to business. LCSs don't have time. They're usually mom and pops that are, they got bills to pay. They don't have time to go through their inventory. You don't understand what it takes and all that stuff. And I said things like this. I don't care if you have an inventory, a back issue inventory of 500 books, a couple short boxes or a couple long boxes. I don't care if you have inventory of a few thousand books. I don't care if you have inventory of 50,000 books. A1 Comics is massive. And they have thousands and thousands and thousands and probably dozens and dozens and dozens of long boxes. All their books are priced on the sales floor, by the way. I don't care how much stock you have. I do agree that we live in a speculator's market right now where books can absolutely increase overnight. As soon as we get an announcement of something, a $2, $3, $4 book can be selling for $20, $30, $50, $100. That's true. That's absolutely true. Steve, I want to mention, yeah, you're right. When stores were shut down, but again, this really isn't about that. It's a bigger issue. But still, even if you're struggling because stuff's shut down, raising a price on a book isn't going to do anything unless it's a market value that a customer is going to be willing to pay. It doesn't, you can't sit and say, well, I have this book priced for $3, but because of COVID, because I was shut down for a couple of months, I'm going to charge you $20 because I saw one sale on eBay, go for higher than what I have it priced. It's not gonna. A customer is going to sit there and say, "Oh, well, I'll pay for it." It doesn't matter. You still have to price your product according to the market. Competitive pricing. Because the consumer they're not going to it's not like they're donating to a children's hospital. Oh, you struggled because of COVID. I'll pay 4 times the fair market value for this book, or I'll pay $2 above fair market value, even though I could stay at home and buy it for $5 less on eBay. People aren't just going to do that. The consumer is going to analyze the choices that they have and support whatever is in the best interest of them. Some of them are going to pick staying at home and buying off of eBay. If you want support because of COVID and you're struggling, create a GoFundMe or something. Like I just, they're kind of 2 different things here. But back to what I was saying. I don't care how much inventory you have. In the speculators market, comic books move with a snap of a finger. But it's not that massive. Hundreds of comic books are not changing value week to week. And again, I'm talking about your back issue bins. I'm not talking about books that are already key books or books that are already hot because of some spec value because of announcements. Your standard back issue books are not changing value day after day, hundreds and thousands at a time. And I'm going to bring up fact to back my opinion on this. Because everyone was like, an LCS owner doesn't have hours to go through every single comic book and reprice every day or every week. You don't need to. You need to price it fairly before it goes onto the sales floor. And then you need to do like a once a week, twice a week monitor. And do you know the best way to monitor? As well as keeping up with the news, which is really easy. Key collector app, $2 a month, and LCS could pay to get every announcement that you could possibly think of that relates to their inventory. And I'm going to bring this up. LCSs have the same resources that collectors do. What are we highlighting? Key collector. Look at these numbers, folks. Look at these numbers. These are not made up. I did not make them up. This is fact. Fact. Between the week of July 20th and July 27th, that's 1 week. 1 week. There were 11 key spec alerts. 11. Plus, there's the top 10 trending books of the week. I'm going to take some water and I want to let you guys marinate on that. And then I'm going to think about that for a minute. Read it. It's on the screen there. Read it again. I'm going to give you guys another minute. Read it again. Go ahead. I'm going to sit back and I want you all to read this again. Woo, it's hot in here. It's hot in here, man. Between July 20th and July 27th, there were 11 keys, specs, alerts, and also a top 10 trending of the week. How much would it take? How much time would it take for a shop to monitor the Key Collector app and search for a couple dozen books each week to gauge a possible reprice? How much time would it take for a shop to monitor the Key Collector app and search for a couple dozen books each week to gauge a possible reprice? I really hope we're all sitting on this. This is, I'm going to say this again. I mentioned this in the beginning of the stream. This isn't about getting deals. That's why I named the stream that today, folks. Because everyone was pointing the finger at me saying, you don't care about your LCS, you only care about getting deals. If an LCS doesn't want somebody coming into their dollar bins and grabbing books that are now worth $5, $10, $20, spend $2 a month and download the Key Collector app and know your inventory. Because you don't need to go through hundreds of thousands of books a week. Less than 24 books moved during that week, this last week. Less than 24. And some of those books were already key books that should already be probably pulled to the wall books or wherever you're keeping your key books. Because solid ran LCSs should have books that are key books or that are spec books in a separate place from their back issue bins. I already talked about how to avoid this. I don't want anybody to get away with stealing from their LCS. I want LCSs to maximize their revenues. But the way that they're going to maximize their profits and their revenue is by not doing this practice. They will lose money. They will become obsolete. I'm yelling because I'm passionate about what I'm talking about. Folks, I just gave you a business platform that I had to pay thousands of dollars to go to school to earn. That I spent years in sales and retail management to break down why it's not about getting over on an LCS. And it's not even about if you personally believe this is wrong or right, unethical or ethical. It's simply because the LCS retail model will not last if LCSs start doing this. It's not about me being mad because an LCS is using eBay to price. It's about me being knowledgeable of business saying, yo, LCS owner, you got to recognize the pros and cons of, what did I say? Of competitive pricing. And do you want a value price or do you want a premium price? So look, LCS owner, if you want to price your back issue bins to that premium price that eBay's selling at, do it, but understand the pros and the cons. But do it before you put them out on the sales floor. Because it goes back to this. Logistics. And I told you all I was going to come back to this. Basic logistics. How you handle logistics determines how profitable and successful of a business you're going to be. So I'm going to read this one more time. The process of planning, implementing, and controlling the efficient, effective flow and storage of goods, services, and related information from the point of origin, buying a comic book collection, to the point of consumption for the purpose of conforming to the customer's demands and needs. So, LCSs, go ahead and reprice at the register. Go ahead and have a line of 5 to 6 people waiting in line with their books, and you get somebody that just spent an hour or two digging in the back issue bins. This one's not priced. This one says $5. This one says $2. Go ahead and have them bring them up and pull and sit there and let not only that customer wait, but let all the customers in line wait while you do this. Okay, Justice League of America 37. Let's pull that up on eBay. It's priced for $2, but let's pull it up on eBay. Let's go to highest sold, because if they're not looking highest sold, what are they looking at? Okay, let me grade out. Let me get top grader, in-store grader. Get over here. What do you think this is? Well, let's pull out the Overstreet Guide to Grading Comics. Let's grade this comic for fair market value. 1 ding, 2 defects, 3 spine ticks. Is the Marvel value stamp intact? All right, yeah, okay. This is a fine plus. Okay, let's go to eBay. This seller says fine plus. Let's go to it, because we know eBay sellers aren't accurate. Let's highlight the pictures, bring them up, zoom in. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't look like a fine plus. It looks more like a very good. Oh, let's go to the next one. Yeah, well, let's just use the high sale. $8. I got to charge you $8 for this book. It's not sustainable. It's not. So, again, my argument is this. It's not that I don't understand what it takes to run a business, because I do. It's not because I want a deal. I don't like entitled people that want to be entitled to getting deals. It's not that I want my LCS to fail. I want my LCS to succeed. And in order for them to do this, in order for them to succeed, they need to understand basic business management, starting with logistics, costs, competitive pricing, value pricing, premium pricing, and utilizing the resources to keep up in the current comic book market. Period. And if you all are watching this and you don't understand that by now, and you still think I'm saying something else, you're not listening on purpose. If you disagree with me for whatever reason, but you are listening, then that's fine. And maybe we just still disagree. But if we do disagree, I'm going to hypothesize that maybe one of two things. One, you don't understand business, or two, you don't want to acknowledge the change in the industry that you're operating in. Jeremy. What's going on, Jeremy? Jesse. Air Spider. I said this before, and I say this again, and I don't say it to gloat. I say it to provide context. I have 2 business degrees. One is in business management. I've worked in retail and sales management for over a decade. Okay. I ran my own merchandising business. I also worked for a record label, running their marketing and promotions department and their merchandising department. And Journos Comics is a brand and a business. It's not just a YouTube channel, but the channel in itself is a business. I keep my ear. I'm a journalist as well. I keep my ear to the industry, to this industry that I love every single day. I understand. I've studied finance, economics, management, supply chain, logistics, all of that stuff. I'm heavily involved in my local LCSs. I broke it down so detailed today. And here's the thing, folks. I had a real messed up week, and I didn't even get to doing what I wanted to do for the show. There was so much more I wanted to outline and prep with, but I didn't. But still, with what I did, if anybody has an argument against me, that's fine. But I am 100% confident in taking you to court over this. Because you got to understand. It boils down to the simple logistics and how to maximize profits. The retail industry, and I got to wrap up here. Thank you, Jeremy, new member Jeremy. Thank you so much for signing up. Truly appreciate you. I gotta start getting ready for Combo Cannon in a minute here, folks. But look, retail is dying. Retail is dying. I'm not talking about comic books. Why is it dying? Because we are evolving in the technological age, and it is becoming more custom for us to pick up our phones or our laptops and order online. Even with Uber Eats and stuff like that too, with food. So when you look at the LCS, it's no different. It's actually almost worse because we have these evolving ways of purchasing comic books, IG sales, the Whatnot app, Facebook Marketplace, eBay. So it's not even about if it's ethical or unethical. I have my opinions on that, and you can have your different opinions there. But we could disagree on it being ethical or not ethical, wrong or right, but still understand that it's not even opinion. It's a fact of the matter that this business model is not sustainable for your LCS. And it's that simple. If more and more LCSs start doing this, that dying retail brick and mortar model of the LCS that's already struggling is going to crumble on down even faster. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to end on this. If an LCS can't have the resources, all right, to be able to manage their inventory properly, to run a successful supply chain, logistical, retail business, save yourself some money, take your inventory, shut down your LCS, stop paying rent, stop paying PG&E, and sell online. Because if you're going to sell your books for the same amount of money and you want to compete solely with eBay, so to say, cut out all of your overhead and sell online and do IG sales. Because ultimately, there's no point in you running an LCS. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I do hope to see you all on the Combo Book Cannon in just 22 minutes. The link is below. Go give us a sub over there. Again, Ron Mars, legendary writer for DC and Marvel. We're going to have him on the show. Father of the Midnight. Yep, Father of Midnight. I won't say too much, but I'll say this. Go peep out my video. This LCS lost my business for life. Go peep that out. Go peep it out. I want to thank all of you for joining today. Thank you for the super chats. Jeremy, thank you so much for signing up as a member. Appreciate you guys. Again, really appreciate you all being here for this discussion. Maybe we'll keep talking about it. I don't know. But for now, I'm late to hop over with my co-host and partner, Jeff, to get ready for the cannon. See you all over there in 21 minutes. Peace.